So this probably won't be a video, but today I'm going to take out a power steering pump and replace it with a power steering pump because this power steering pump is broken.
Oh.
Now, this seems like it's going to be not the easiest job in the world, but at least on this 3.5 88 Classic, there's no transmission lines that run over the pump that's completely obscuring access. And if we look in the old manual here, which I never do, it's only a one-pager. Undo the bolts, pop the things off, pull it out, happy days. I don't believe that's going to be the case whatsoever, but very optimistic on this rainy Saturday morning. So removing the air cleaner, at least on his, it's very stock. The car only has 100,000 miles on it. Actually still has the factory bracket to hold it in place on, which is, I think, rare. Most of them have been ripped off in fits of anger and never properly reattached. Here's the new remanufactured unit. Now I'm pretty sure these are very expensive new or repurposed. Like $1,200. This one was around $300. Obviously you had to send the core back. So it's probably what, $600 before the core charge. And it's just a matter of getting it out. So you're probably easier to get it out of the top or take it out of the bottom. I've seen a lot of videos on it. So that alternator probably needs to come out. And then from this side, it's just a couple bolts that hold it onto the chassis.
Oh, the ground wire runs between these lines. What the heck?
I also disconnect some things. So.
Huh?
All right, so we're gonna do these two top lines first, and then I guess try to drain as much fluid out so we don't make a bigger mess than we're about to make. Also
So
says
this back line is the one that stays on.
remove the cap, and if in case there's any pressure.
Gosh.
Well, it's not stripped. It says take
Oh,
take
no.
the cap off. Okay, good.
Yeah, just like where's all this gonna run down the frame and actually be?
Well, I'll put the thing under it once we figure out where it's gonna land. You got any of those Atlantic British boxes to put down?
Frame.
It's bloody. Yeah, you're good.
Maybe we should try to turn it out of the way a little bit. This bad boy.
Oh yeah. So the lines are off, and we're talking about in hindsight, probably would have been better to disconnect the lower steering components. So we're not getting power steering fluid dripping on our face trying to do that. But that is step one. Step two is removing that small, probably right there, and that boy right there, and get a really long extension, and hopefully that'll pop out. I just don't know how it's gonna work when you try to pull it all the way out, but this is why you have an excuse to get tools.
Self-lubing.
Yeah, again, the beauty of a job like this is the self-lubing nature of a lubricated component getting removed. What size is that?
3/4.
3/4. So I guess this originated, this power steering leak, from installing a new drop arm. What was that?
Yeah, steering arm.
Steering arm? Yeah. Which probably agitated some of the old seals in the pump above it. So that was just done, so that's got to come off and pop out. And then that steering arm needs to be reinstalled on the new gear. But we're going to leave the power steering gearbox attached to the frame in the meantime so we can yank on these. Well, while this is getting wrenched on, here's the other Classic. This was the one we rescued from Lynchburg. Very rusty, but a new rear cross member has been installed. So everything's been treated. We now have the tailgate back on. It actually closes and opens. And it just makes this vehicle just a little more viable, that the whole rear end is actually attached to the frame. So good news on that front. All right, so I stepped away and he was able to remove that lock nut from the drop arm there. And good for him, that's step one. That's a big one. that'll loosen. Halfway there, so he's already got the bolts loose that are on the chassis. We've got the drop arm bolt loose, and just getting the last one for the other arm. I don't know if I can. Whoa! Oh no! Oh no! Well, I can just sit there.
You know, I think they probably, when they're taking the pitman arm off.
So, we've got everything off except for the 4 main bolts holding on the frame. So now it'll be the wiggly jiggly, which way is it coming out? Or what's the minimum amount of work we can do, or things we don't have to remove to get this off? Yeah, it's loose. Here, I'll.
You give a little support so it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm holding it.
Didn't think about that. So I didn't.
Yeah, so now I have to separate the steering column shaft joint from the box. The box is basically loose minus the steering arm under it. I guess it doesn't really say in the manual at what point that needs to be removed or not, so we're figuring it out the hard way. So as we were cranking on that, the rubber steering gibo, whatever you want to call it, that's connected to the, I guess, the output part of it, pulled out. So he's gonna need, I guess that had been bad for a while, so that boot back there, or I guess that gibo, if you want to call it that, will also need replaced on the steering shaft. So the old while you're in there is when you break it. Now doing things in reverse, maybe? Because maybe we're doing something wrong. We still can't get the steering shaft disconnected.
There we go.
Oh, you popped it? Did it land in the forever pit of fluid?
No, but it's got a lot of fluid.
Oh, wonderful. Because I'm sure there's someone screaming at us, but that steering shaft does not want to come loose or dislodge. Maybe we have to pop that too. Who knows? All right, so in conclusion, the alternator really does need to come off. Since we still have the pitman arm on the bottom, it's just not allowing enough rotation to pull it out since it's still mostly resting on the frame. Smooth alternator.
Loose. Is there a nut behind it?
Yeah, then we're definitely going to have to pull it off and not just move it out of the way. There's not a lot of room. I'm going for the C-section instead of doing this vaginally. That's it. Oof.
The pitman arm? Is that what, if you look under?
Yeah. All right, so steering rod, whatever you want to call it, steering shaft has been removed. Required a fatter flathead and a hammer and more jiggling, but that is off. I'll show you what had disconnected from the other side. Where is it? Here it is. Yeah, the rubber boot or gibo or bushing, whatever you want to call it, that was completely shot going into the other rod. So don't have, yeah. So that, don't have to replace it, but it's gonna get replaced. And with that being said, if the video cuts out, we're gonna have to pull the alternator out, I think, still. So we'll see. Doesn't this look fun? So alternator's off. It looks like we have to pull the alternator bracket out.
Which goes, it's like a head stud on that. Like
We probably could have done some more research about how to get it out of the bottom, but this is where we're at now. So, might as well take the whole engine out at this point. So of course I didn't film it, but it's out now. A lot of line reorientation, a lot of grunting and cursing. We also removed that drop down bracket for a little more room. So it is now power steering pumpless. And yeah, did that. But things that recap, right? Alternator definitely need to come out, but this bracket won't come off. I mean, this is literally the lifting eye for the actual engine itself. So there's additional places where that is secured that is not just cold bolts that won't allow it to be removed. So don't do what we did. Oh, there she is, dirty girl right here. I guess of all the things you pull out of a car, the box itself isn't bad. It just needs a reseal. So when you go to return one of those, it's probably fairly profitable for them to rebuild it real quick. So that's going to be the end of this video. I didn't have time to film the reinstallation, unfortunately, but as you can see, probably saved $1,000 or so bucks worth of labor in exchange for a couple busted knuckles, swearing, and some general, mechanical knowledge transfer. I guess I'll just leave it at that. So, again, it's always man's will to save a couple bucks is usually greater than the depth of his wallet. So again, that wasn't too bad. A few things we could have done differently is remove some more things, read the directions, but at the end of the day, it's in. And haven't really tested it out. You're probably gonna go back over there later and see how the rest of the swap's doing. But if you are a DIYer, it is possible. It's not that many nuts and bolts to hold it in place. If hopefully nothing snaps or breaks. But other than that, it's semi-straightforward. And this is definitely not a DIY video or the correct way to do it, but simply, hey, let's go see if we can do this, and we did it. So that's gonna be it for this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out the rest of my YouTube videos. Lots of Rover content, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks. Oh. Now I know why they designed these cup holders, because they just grab the water that just pours in if I hit the brakes. Man, another beautiful rainy day in a Land Rover. There's a big old, right? This is my, right into it. Perfect.